Some 73% of mobile phone numbers, equivalent to over 21 million people in Malaysia, have been leaked or sold to scammers, based on a report by the developer of call filtering app Who's Call. According to GoGoLook's 2022 annual fraud report, among 4 Asian countries, Malaysia ranked first with the highest number of cell phone numbers breached. Meanwhile, 65% of phone numbers were compromised in Taiwan, 56% were leaked in Japan, and 45% were affected in Thailand. The report also found that the top private information leaks in Malaysia, Taiwan, and Thailand are login passwords and names, followed by address, country, date of birth, and email leaks. It said personal data breaches for login credentials may lead to stolen online banking or social network accounts, and that when scammers get access to names, phone numbers, and even payment and shopping records, they can easily initiate phone and message attacks. It added that if names and addresses are leaked, people may soon receive unsolicited packages with payment requests on arrival. GoGoLook's Who's Call app, which is said to be the largest database in East Asia and Southeast Asia, has identified over 405.4 million scam calls and messages that took place globally in 2022. Results also showed that scammers prioritize text messages for high penetration rates due to the low cost, which contributed to 76% of messages being used as the first contact in fraud cases. It said this is exceptionally true, with 95% of fraud attacks in Japan and up to 80% of fraud attacks in Taiwan, South Korea, and Malaysia using messages instead of calls. Fitch Solutions Country Risk and Industry Research kept its short-term political risk index score for Malaysia unchanged as it continues to anticipate challenges to policy making. In a report today, the firm maintained Malaysia's score at 72.9 out of 100, still lower than the score of 75.6 back in April 2018. It said risks to policy continuity have diminished following the smooth transition to the current PH-led unity government. But with the multiple parties possessing diverse ideologies, Malaysia could witness policy gridlock and slow momentum on reforms on more politically contentious matters. Fitch Solutions said the smooth passage of Budget 2023 is not enough to demonstrate that the policy-making process in Malaysia has improved significantly under the new government. It noted that the premise of the revised budget is similar to the spending framework announced by the previous government and did not introduce any major fiscal or tax reforms which could be viewed as politically or socially contentious. It added that race-based considerations will likely continue to guide policies in Malaysia, and that should PN claim a decisive victory in the upcoming polls, especially in the predominantly poorer Malay states, it could pressure Putrajaya to implement more pro-Malay policies in order to shore up support among this core group. The Attorney General's Chambers has objected to Bersatu's bid to have the courts review the lawfulness of a freeze order imposed on its party accounts over purported money laundering. Senior Federal Counsel Shamsul Hassan told the KL High Court that the frozen accounts in questions are the subject matter of party President Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's criminal charges. Muhyiddin was charged with 4 counts of abuse of power for allegedly using his position as then PM to secure gratification amounting to 232.5 million ringgit from corporate entities, which was said to have been funneled directly into Bersatu. He is also facing 2 charges of money laundering involving 195 million ringgit received by his party. Shamsul said Bersatu's judicial review bid would mean a violation by the civil court of the criminal court's jurisdiction, and so it would be better dealt with in the criminal court. Defense lawyer Rosli Dahlan argued that Bersatu should be granted permission for judicial review, as there are lots of questions concerning the freeze order and its implications. He highlighted that Muhyiddin was the one being investigated, yet it was the party's accounts that were being frozen. Rosli also said the freeze order was made in bad faith by the government to create bad publicity for Bersatu and is a deliberate attempt to cripple the party ahead of the state polls. The court will deliver its decision on the review application on May 17th. KLCCP Stapled Group is expecting to deliver a better set of financial results this year as domestic economic recovery continues its momentum and amid the absence of Cukai Makmur. Still, executives at the Stapled Group, comprising KLCC Property Holdings and KLCC REIT, cautioned of rising costs arising from the government's tariff rationalisation and higher wages, which could have a ripple effect on consumers. CEO Datuk Muhammad Shah Mahmud told reporters after concluding the group's annual general meeting that in terms of strategy, cost optimization and efficiency in operations, so long as there isn't a major event like the pandemic, it expects better returns. The group booked earnings of 782.66 million ringgit in FY 2022, up 58% year-on-year on the back of 24% growth in revenue to 1.46 billion ringgit. It also declared a distribution of 38 cents per stapled security, which also translated to a dividend yield of 5.66%, the highest recorded since the listing of the stapled security. And should the momentum in the first quarter of this year continue into the remainder of 2023, the group's CFO Rohiza Kadir said it is likely to record further financial improvement. Rhone Ma Holdings says its joint venture with Kulim Malaysia was appointed by the East Coast Economic Region Development Council to develop, operate and manage the 275.34-hectare Jemaluang Dairy Valley in the Mersing district in Johor. The JV entity is known as Jemaluang Dairy Valley. Rhone Ma's subsidiary A2 Fresh owns 35% of the entity. Kulim, part of the Johor Corp Group, holds 35%, while a 30% stake is held in trust by Kulim for the Johor government. The JV will undertake the investment, operation and management activities of the project, including the upstream and downstream operations of dairy cattle farming, milk processing and marketing of products. The parties will also be responsible for the operation and maintenance of existing fodder areas and the development of new fodder areas within the project site for animal feed. Rhone Ma said they will also develop and manage the training and technology transfer program for satellite farmers. The project is expected to commence in 2024. A portion of the initial investment, amounting to 1.5 million ringgit, has been funded, with the remaining 39.89 million ringgit to be funded by A2 Fresh and Kulim.